What's up, everybody? We are back with another open announcement. 19-point quattro. I don't know if you're excited about this one. I'm excited about this one. I think this is a great workout. So let's just jump right in. If you guys have questions, you guys can post them to the comments. I will try to read them and answer them while I'm talking. But usually I talk so much that people don't have a lot of questions at the end of this. This workout is 10 snatches, 12 bar facing burpees, and then we're gonna do that for 3 rounds. 3 minutes of rest, which is the first time we've ever seen that, and then 10 bar muscle ups, 12 bar facing burpees. So not to be taken lightly, this is actually a lot of burpees. You know, if you do make it to the bar muscle ups, I do know that most people, it's gonna be a for time workout for that first component, which I think is good. I think it's very approachable. You know, it's not crazy heavy weights, and it's going to, you know, it's going to create some separation for people who can just go fast on that but can't do a bar muscle up yet. But then we're going to have a lot of opportunity for people to be able to maybe get their first bar muscle up. And I really think that that's the beauty of this workout with that 3-minute rest in there. I'm not a big fan of people attempting their first muscle up or something dangerous when they're tired and fatigued. And so by making everybody rest for 3 minutes, that's going to make sure that maybe more people get their first bar muscle up. Now, again, if people aren't close, they shouldn't be trying. We don't want to see chicken wings or anything like that. That's how people can really mess up their shoulders. But I think it's a pretty neat way to do this workout. And then we'll have some people get their first or second bar muscle ups. And we'll have people who can do a few bar muscle ups, create a little bit of separation. 10 is not a crazy number. If people can do singles, they'll be able to maybe get to the next round of burpees and maybe even into the next round. So I think that's really well. So let's talk about the overall. So one of the most important things to note on this workout is that this is going to be a lot of shoulders, right? So I think that a lot of people aren't really going to realize that all those burpees are going to fatigue your shoulders and then the snatches, if you're pressing it out or you're doing a lot of muscle snatching, then you're going to end up blowing your shoulders up even more, right? So, and then that makes some of the bar muscle up harder, and it tends to slow you down because your shoulders are fatigued, not because you don't have more gas in the tank. So I want to make sure we save the shoulders, and I'll talk about that on all the different movements. And the other one is save the grip, right? Now, if you're just planning on doing the snatches and the bar facing burpees as fast as you can, grip's not really as important. But if you blow your grip up on these snatches, and then the bar muscle ups are going to be that much harder. So make sure you try to save your grip. We'll talk about the tie break and repeats later on. So the snatches, muscle or power snatch. And now, if this is a light weight for you and you can't do bar muscle ups, you know, the muscle snatch might be the way to go, right? It tends to be a little bit faster. Excuse me. It will blow your shoulders up more, especially with that wide, because when you start to fatigue, there's a press out, and that really wide grip press out hammers the shoulders. And you combine that with the burpees, you have to kind of be careful with that. So I think most people are going to benefit from doing a power snatch where they actually catch it and lock the arms out and then stand. It's really not that much slower, even across 30 reps. You're really not going to lose that much time, but it's going to significantly save the shoulders. Now, this is another one of my kind of like patented, sneaky tips for movements. And what that is that I want you guys to do a narrow grip. And so, you think about the bar going overhead, the wider your grip, it's gonna not go as high, so the bar moves less of a distance. But the reality is that when your hands are wide, then you have to bend over way farther, which means, especially when the barbell weight isn't that significant compared to your body weight, you're gonna have to squat your body a lot lower. And so I've drawn some sketches here. So you can imagine, if you go really, really wide, you have to squat down so much lower. You can see there's a big difference. You have to drop your hips much lower compared to having a more narrow grip where you're going to be able to hinge at the hip more and keep your butt higher and keep your center of mass higher. So your center of mass isn't moving as much. So that's going to equate to less work. The other benefit to the narrow grip is that it's going to save your grip more, right? I'm even doing hook grip like this, demonstrating, but it's going to save your grip a lot more because the wide grip is, again, very taxing on your grip, especially when we're repping these out. So I think most people should go a little bit narrower. There is kind of a really, this is really sketchy, but you basically go narrow, like almost like a clean, and then you go wide at the top. You slip the bar through your hands. I don't know if I recommend that, but but you want to go more narrow, not clean narrow, not so you're like in full, clean and jerk position, but actually, just like a hand span or maybe a little bit narrower than that. And that's gonna help you. You're still gonna cycle the bar really fast, but it's gonna save your shoulders because it's easier to, if you do press out, it's a little bit easier to press out, and it's gonna make it so you don't have to bend over as far. In the usual stuff with snatches too, don't just totally round your back, especially if you plan on doing this one more than once. If you totally arch your back every time you go down, it's gonna blow you up. So try to keep that back flat, especially in the earlier rounds when you're fresher. So that's how we're gonna save the shoulders and the grip on the snatches. On the burpees, one thing I want to point out is it's the one-footed land, so you can step up. You can then you have to do a two-footed jump, but you can land and turn as you land, so you don't have to land two-footed, which just makes it easier on the judges. So I do like that. So you're going to land two-footed and then kick your feet out, right? So if you kick your feet out, kind of sideways, you can go down a lot faster. And this is really where people can make up a lot of time. Is 12 bar-facing burpees isn't a ton, and so even if snatching isn't really your jam, then you can push the pace on the burpees. Remember to stay low. You don't have to stand up all the way, and you can step up, right? So I do think a lot of people that are just kind of trying to motor through at a steady pace are going to have an easier time, stepping up than trying to jump up every time. That being said, if you're only looking to get the first part for time, you got to do it as fast as you can. So a jump up and go spin out right into the next one is going to be your best bet. But if you're kind of pacing yourself a little bit more because you got more bar facing burpees in the next portion, maybe do some step ups. They're not that much slower, and they will save you. They will save some energy, and it also helps to not try to press up. Now, when you're doing a burpee, one of the things is that if you use a lot of your push up to get up out of the burpee and it really explosive, again, that blows the shoulders up. It'll slow your burpees down later on. So what you can do is arch your back a little bit more. So after you touch your chest, you can kind of peel yourself up a little bit more off those knees, and do like a knee push up before you step up or jump up. Again, we're saving the shoulders. That's going to make the later burpees easier, and it's going to make the bar muscle ups easier when we have to press up. All right, so before I move on, so now we have 3 minutes of rest. Now, one of the things I want to point out about resting is that you shouldn't just lay down on the ground, right? So as soon as you're done, try to move around. I actually think getting on a Airdyne, going really slow, because we have the lymph system, and that's going to help remove the waste products from exercise is by moving, right? So when you're resting, try to stay moving, try to stay on your feet a little bit, take deep nasal breaths. If you can do a count, if you can work up to like maybe a 5 or a 6 in, hold for 3 to 5, and then a 5 or a 6 out, and then a hold for 3 to 5. That kind of box breathing style, that's going to really help you recover, especially when you're bringing air in through the nose, right? So as soon as you can, start taking those deep breaths so that you're going to be more rested for the next portion. So let's talk about bar muscle ups. I think you should actually break up the bar muscle ups on this one. Even if you can do 10 or more, or 5 or 8 in a row. Again, it's a 30 bar muscle up, so you're going to want to be careful with doing that. You got to remember it is still kind of part of this workout, So one thing I got to say is we again knocked it out of the park, and we actually have been doing a lot of kipping practice and bar muscle up practice in the programming, and that was because of a workout like this. And so I've seen a couple videos where people actually got their first bar muscle up on Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday this week, because it was in the programming, in the skill work, right? So we want people to practice these skills in an environment where we're not under the gun for time, and then they can really learn the movement and play with it before they have to do it in a real competitive environment. That's just much more safely and much more fun. So yeah, I think you should break it up, and then if you have more juice, you can go harder on the last round. You might start that first set a little bit big because you are coming off a 3 minutes rest, but you shouldn't really try to push to squeeze out every single rep. That's not going to be the ticket. Now let's talk about another one of those secret kind of movement tips. Again, if you guys are watching this live, I'll put up a close-up of this on the write-up that's going to accompany this video, so you guys can see these drawings better. But you'll see most people, when they do a bar muscle up, they don't bring their legs nearly high enough, and so they think of it kind of like a really explosive pull up, and then they press out. And really, it's more closely related to a toes to bar. And so that's one of the reasons why in our scale up, sometimes in Thrivistry, we'll do the standard movement is toes to bar, but then the scale up might be bar muscle ups. And so what I actually want to see people do is if your legs are low, that means your center of mass is a lot lower from the bar, and you have to get it up much higher to get over the bar. If you can bring your legs up higher, that's going to move your center of mass much closer to the bar and make the transition much easier. And so this is kind of a modified glide kip. No, glide kips are not allowed. That's where you bring your feet above the bar. What you have to do is you have to bend your knees. And so by keeping your knees bent, you're going to stay legit. Now, one thing I did notice in the rules is that it used to be your toes were not allowed to go above the bar. Now they're saying any part of the foot. So that's going to, I think that might be a little bit easier to judge. But all you need to do is bend your knees, and then when you bring your knees up, it's a chopping movement where you basically where you're horizontal and you think about chopping and bringing your hips to the bar. And that's kind of that modified glide kip. And that's really, you know, when I write here first bar muscle up, if you're close, you definitely want to do some drills on this. You want to practice this, but one of the biggest things you need to do is jump into that first bar muscle up, get a really big kipping swing, bring your feet and your knees high, and then chop the hips up, and then that's going to help you transition. The other thing I see a lot of beginners, what a lot of beginners do wrong, is they try to pull way too soon. As you're chopping the hips and bringing and keeping your arms, you want to keep your arms straight so that it pushes you around the bar this way. You know, if you try to pull too soon, what happens is then the bar hits you here or here, and you really want it to be down by your waist, right? And so by being patient and thinking about pushing the bar away, that's going to bring your hips up to the bar, and then then you want to go in like a plank position or like a hollow rock position, and then that's the weight of the legs is going to swing you up over the bar. So think about that. Think about getting your legs high, chopping and bringing the hips to the bar, and then being very patient through the bar muscle up. Let's talk about the overall stuff. So the tiebreaker, like I said, is the end of those first movements. You know, if you know you're going to be able to do some bar muscle ups, the tiebreaker isn't as critical. You're still going to go really hard. I don't think you should like try to pace a ton, but you want to use some of these techniques that's going to save your shoulders for the next portion. But we want to pay attention to that tiebreaker. Now, if you're not going to be able to do bar muscle ups, or it's kind of a long shot, then you need to sell out on the first part, right? This is going to be a 3 rounds for time workout for you. You know, any bar muscle ups you might get, you'll end up you know, that's money in the bank, right? So then should you repeat this? You know, I don't know if you should repeat this. It kind of depends. If you're close to getting a bar muscle up and then you don't get it, then maybe you try it again. If you're just doing the first portion, this one isn't a bad one to repeat. It's really not that long. You know, some people are going to be doing it in like 2.5 to 3.5 minutes, which would be a pretty fast time. You know, but if you did it in 5 or 8 minutes, then you might try it again, going a little faster. You know, just kind of knowing what you're getting into and what it's going to feel like. That might enable you to get a better score. This won't affect your training too much. We are coming toward the end of the open, so we're not as worried about you know, the rest of the open. You know, if we were repeating a first or second workout. One thing I'll say though about the bar muscle ups is, you know, make sure you guys take care of your hands. You do not want to rip your hands on a bar muscle up. And you know, I'm still seeing there's probably going to be pull-ups in the last workout, right? It may be chest to bars. It could be strict. You know, we haven't seen strict in the open yet, and they've been doing a lot of strict stuff and kind of the CrossFit HQ world. So, you know, it could be strict pull-ups, it could be chest to bars, but if you have shredded hands, that can be a game changer that we don't want. So, so yeah, repeats I think are going to be fine. If you crush this workout and you finish the for time, you know, again, not a terribly, you know, it's not going to make you terribly sore, but it is, you know, what is it, 72 reps of burpees. You know, if you're able to finish this whole workout for time, doing 2 workouts with 72 burpees isn't really gonna make you that sore. So this is probably one of the ones that's a little bit better for repeats. But I think that's it. I haven't seen any questions come up. If you guys have any, again, if you guys have any more questions or anything, you can post to the blog where I post the article, or you can try to post here and then tag me so I see them and I'll answer questions. But I think that's it, you guys. Again, just remember that you want to save your shoulders as much as you can. Narrower grip on the snatches. Try to not use your push-ups as much on the burpees, and that's going to make the later burpees easier and more likely to get that first muscle up. All right, guys, that's it, and I will see you guys in the next video.